Can't complain at all. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Wayne just says he thinks it's all a bunch of crap. So with that, it's not your normal Sunday. I'm Jeffrey Darty. He's our Wayne Steiger. We're both live this early morning. And wherever you are, we're glad you're there. And we're glad that Two Trees is there. Thank you for the super chat. Wayne, how the heck are you?
Oh, I tell you what, my friend, any better, we'd be guilty.
Yes, we were just talking about Rex, so the Rexism slipped out. How the heck are you?
Doing well, doing well. How is the myth, the legend, and the man?
Oh, I talked to him yesterday because I forget what I talked to him about, but he bought a new Nikon P1000 because he broke his previous one. So I decided I would buy one, and I got the warranty just in case.
Yes.
So we're going to be looking at the moon and looking at all kinds of stuff real close.
Well,
Wayne, the word evil jumps off your whiteboard.
Yeah. It does because, as you can see, writing a lot of thoughts up early in the morning these days. And, could it be that we have completely underestimated the whole concept of good, evil, God, devil, and realize that no matter where we look, no matter which direction we go, it's a morphing cube.
A morphing cube?
And yes, and it means you never go anywhere. You think you are. No matter if you're going to write a Bible, no matter if you're going to write the Quran, no matter whether you're going to write the Bhagavad Gita, it's still the same author.
What do you mean by that? It's the same author?
Well, all three, whether you're doing the Abrahamic, Hindu, and even Islam is Abrahamic. What I'm saying, it's the same whatever, the same energy, same consciousness that's writing all of it. So no matter how you want to label yourself, categorize yourself, what you don't understand, you're just nothing more than, how can we say, you don't have a choice because the story is being written by the same person.
Right, so we don't have a choice if we're buying into those stories, for sure.
Yeah, either way. And I often wonder if us truthers sometimes, the deep philosophers and thinkers of our time, and there's many of them out there, at some point in time you're going, now, wait a minute, it all seems to be hurting us into the same direction. I mean, the question becomes, does spirituality really count?
That's a very interesting question. I wanted to show you something.
Okay.
People think I'm checking my cell phone, but I'm actually trying to.
I thought you were taking a selfie of the moment.
I'm trying to get something to show to you. But somebody, I forget who it was, who sent us the article about the
soulless ones.
The soulless people. Who sent us that?
Julie
sent us that.
Yeah, fascinating.
And it's a fascinating thing. But even more than that, I think the people that the people that the author quotes are fascinating. And I was looking at the people that were quoted in that. And one of the things that to me is even most fascinating is there was a statement made by one of those people that are quoted. And they said that, in the real world, that if someone has gone to college, that they've also gone to high school, they've also gone to elementary school. If someone's working on a PhD, they've already got a baccalaureate level base of study. And you were in the trades. When they're in the trades, what do you start off as? If you say you're going to be an electrician, you start off just doing what?
An apprentice.
Then you move to what next?
Journeyman.
And then what's the final?
A master.
Thing? A master. So someone comes to your house, he's a master plumber. He's been a journeyman. He's been an apprentice, right?
Yeah.
Typically, when it comes to spirituality, which is arguably more important than plumbing, the best thing about YouTube is anybody can have a channel. The worst thing about YouTube is anybody can have a channel. So we're getting advice from people that have no apprenticeships, have no journeyman, and yet they're proclaiming themselves masters. And that's probably the most dangerous thing we've got going on in the world today. I mean, we got people that can have a jailhouse conversion get out and decide they're the guru for the world, and everybody flocks to them and listens to them. Probably not a great idea.
Listen, when I hear that these stars are sunburning the area of your body that should never see the sun, yeah.
I heard that they're doing I was hoping it ain't true, but it is.
Yeah.
Men are laying out there with their legs spread, getting sun tans on not just their genitals, but the area all the way down to their rectum.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of a joke. One of them, one of them went into the doctor, and he took his hillbilly friend with him, and he went into the doctor, and the doctor examined him, and he had sunburned himself down there. And the doctor said to him, "Well, it looks like it's a sunburn on the rectum." And his friend says, "Rectum shit, damn near killed him." Anyway,
you bring out the point. Everyone can have a channel. Everyone, has got a voice out there, but it's so true. And I think it's probably as much as the Raphaim were doomed for extinction, I think we may be heading on the same course because, after we're gone, it's going to be the generation, what is it, the Xers, and then the millennials.
I missed a Anne Marie Eber, who I had on the show, and by the way,
he is wearing pants.
I am today. And I've got her book too, Numbers of Destiny, Anne Marie Eber. She just gave a nice super chat, so thank you very much for that, Anne Marie.
Far out. That's what I say.
Yeah, this book is about Chaldean numerology and Chaldean astrology.
It gets all the way back. I've been doing the study on the Raphaim and the Nephilim and the men of renown. And I'm telling you, the story we were told in Sunday school ain't true, brother.
No, it's really not.
No.
Wayne, what do we do with this situation where, and I'm not hating on anybody that decides they want to start a channel and starts one, even if they have no expertise, but we have to, the burden has to fall upon the people that are consuming the content. You've got to realize, okay, this person's interesting, they're nice, but we got to remember, they got no experience, they got no journeyman, they got no apprentice, they're just here. So even if they say they're a master, we probably need to reconsider and just know who we're listening to.
Yeah. To quote a quote, let him who have ears hear, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking of experts, I've got Joseph Atwell, author of Caesar's Messiah, on tomorrow at noon. This will be his third time, so we'll get a chance to talk more with Joseph. And he's the author of this great book, Caesar's Messiah.
Excellent book.
It really is. It's one of the best books I've ever read.
It's a good one. I recommended that to Roger over at Mud Fossil University.
Did you ask him to come on your channel?
Yeah. He's considered. He's a nice guy, I tell you.
I haven't been able. I thought I tried to find his email and stuff and couldn't get a hold of him, but
he actually listens to us.
Oh, well, good for him. Well, Roger, come on both of our channels. We'd love to have you. Your information is fascinating. I don't know that I'm 100% on board, but I would really like to look at the evidence and let the audience see that evidence and let them decide for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, what is the idiom? Seeing is believing.
Right, but with these deep fake videos and stuff, we can't even trust that anymore, can we?
Oh, I'll tell you what, we are in the age of confusion, and I often wonder if we're metaphorically building the second Tower of Babel, or has the second confusion come upon us?
Yeah, that's interesting. It really is, trying to speculate and all that stuff. And I'm just trying to get as much data and information as I can, and present as much as we can to the people and let them decide for themselves.
Yeah, I agree.
Grown talking about the moon.
Yeah, the moon.
The moon is an enigma, isn't it?
It is. It again played a role with the giants. They worship the moon.
Wayne, what am I going to see? You've looked at the moon. What am I going to see when I start focusing that new camera on the moon?
Well, you'll see, like others, the moon is a very crowded airspace up there. It
And they
is.
keep telling us it's nothing, it's nothing, don't worry about it. We'll
Yeah.
see here, move along.
The Chinese, they're keeping all of their data really tight of what they're doing over there on the dark side of the moon. And I think they're finding out secrets.
I bet they are.
I think
I'll
they
bet they
are.
are.
I think they are.
It's just there's a lot that we don't know, that's for sure. And what we've been told isn't, most of it's not true.
Yeah, I mean, you have so many people today who really believe that the moon landing was fake. Well, as I tell everyone, just if you have a university, a major university, go to their astrophysics department. Many times they'll do the experience with the experiment with their students, where you can actually shoot up a laser beam up to the surface of the moon and have it return back. I mean, that is something we put up there. And it's probably one of the best evidences. And chances are, with your camera, if you get really good at it and single in, you can even see, where we were up there.
My belief on it right now, from what I know, is that we may in fact have gone, but what they showed us is going wasn't us going.
Well, I had the honor and the privilege to fly next to Gene Cernan, the last man who stepped on the moon, Apollo 17, from a flight from Orlando to Houston. And yeah, I think people can believe what they want. Mm-hmm. But when you're talking to an actual individual that actually did it, yeah, it. And my dad worked for NASA. He worked on the Apollo missions. He worked on Gemini. He worked on Mercury. When he retired, he was passing off Aurora to the next generation there. So, yeah, I guess
Wayne, a lot of our friends would say those are exactly the things that disqualify you, Wayne, from an opinion on this.
Yeah. It also makes me an expert at it in another way.
Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's
true.
It
does. Yeah. You see, I actually got to see those astronauts, those men that actually went up there. My dad knew Apollo 1. They knew Grissom and those 3 brave Americans that died in that. Is that fake? Are you going to tell me that their death is somehow hype? That's the absurdity of it. They want it both ways. You see, they want their opinion to say, well, we never went up there. But what about the deaths of those 3 astronauts that allowed us to understand the mistakes to get us there?
That's actually a good question. I'd like to know, people that don't believe in the moon, that we went to the moon, was the death of the astronauts fake?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I never met him. My father knew those bodies had to be recovered. Yeah. So,
but I mean, there's just basic questions that bounce around in my mind, Wayne. Like, who was the first one to walk on the moon? One small step for mankind.
Yeah, Neil Armstrong.
So Neil Armstrong's the first guy on the moon, but I wonder who took the freaking pictures of him coming down the ladder if he was the first guy on the moon.
Well, it was the perspective of the lander. That's all it was. The camera was set up there to begin with.
What you mean? The camera was there before they got to the moon?
No, the camera was built part of the lander, the lunar lander that came down.
But he was a lot that. I mean, it looks to me like that camera was a long way away. But anyway, we could go round and round on that one. But I want to show you something. Look over Wayne's right shoulder. Look at his whiteboard.
Oh.
And, just look at that whiteboard and think about that whiteboard and how it's put together and stuff and, what's on it. And then, just for interesting comparison, I took a picture of my whiteboard.
Let's see it.
And let's see the differences between the whiteboards and what that might, we can maybe psychoanalyze a little bit. Here's my whiteboard, Wayne.
I love it.
There's a little difference there. Mine's not quite as full, although mine's big. Mine's arguably 2 of yours. So
yeah, see, I have one over on that wall that same size.
So you have more data, but And I've got a nice "I love you" up there from Cynthia, so she
Uh,
wrote that. So
love it.
there you
Yeah, I
go.
like
So
this. You see, I this one gets used so often, but the thoughts, I love that. So what are you on? Leave it
I got
alone. Is that what I see?
what's that?
Does that say leave it alone in your center column?
No, that actually says Lillian in Archie.
Oh,
There's a cemetery in the city called Archie out here.
yeah.
That's supposed to have this lady, this departed lady that still hangs out there named Lillian.
Ah.
So I'm gonna go check her out. And this one says Jesus and Dracula at church because I'm thinking about going to churches and saying, you obviously decided to give your soul to Jesus, right? Yes. Well, did you know that Dracula might offer a better deal? Here's the fact.
Now that is freaking cool. I love it. That
What
is
do you think
cool, Jeff.
people's reaction would be, Wayne? Oh, yes,
Um,
I gave my life to Jesus and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's great. But since you're wanting to give your soul, Dracula has a deal too. I just thought you might want to be aware of what he offers.
well, let's say you walked into a Baptist church.
I just do it in the parking lot, Wayne.
Okay. All right. Well, either way, the circular will be going around through all the Baptist churches. See this man? Call security. That's how they kind of look at for myself. I mean, Lynn and I.
Kenny just brought up an interesting point.
What's that?
Dracula doesn't even ask for money.
That's a fact. And, listen, there is so much about this blood sacrifice thing. Man,
Oh, it's craziness.
it saturates everything. Everything is blood. I don't want to taste
Everything
of your
in that
blood.
religion is blood. And how can you the amazing thing is, Wayne, that they're taking people through black magic, blood magic, ritual sacrifices, cannibalism, and people think they're going to the most holy thing ever.
Can I say something? This will be controversial. Like we never say that here.
No, never.
So all of us who have taken communion, all of those of us who know people who still participate in that ritual is not about taking some savior's body. That ritual can be traced all the way back to when we were food stock, when we were the sacrificial food, the sacrificial blood, the sacrificial meat. Us. So when they're taking communion, the bread, the wafer, that is representation of humans being sacrificed to Baal, the god Baal, and the flesh being eaten by the worshipers. The blood was spilt upon the altar and then contained into the chalice because the life is in the blood.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. I saw somebody sent me something, or I saw it somewhere, and I never thought about it. Santa Claus, right? Santa,
Yeah.
big red suit.
The pedophile?
Everybody goes, the kids go and sit on Santa's lap. Somebody was postulating that it is a continuation of Moloch. He's all red because he's molten. The kids come sit on his lap as a sacrifice. And, he's got the beard and everything. So they say Santa is just modern day Moloch.
Yeah, because they're giving their belief to the ancient God. I'll be even more controversial. Nations, countries that allow abortion is the sacrificial sacrifice of humans still to these ancient deities, Baal, Moloch, whoever you would like to say.
They're still doing it.
It's still doing it.
And we got people saying that Santa is an anagram for Satan.
Now listen, the problem with Satan is Satan is a modern, you can't use that. Here's why. The modern version of Satan is actually only less than 600 years old.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate.
Yeah. Now, if you want to get back into, back in what they believed in the Dark Ages, back in the days of what the Canaanites believed in, that we can talk. Now, that's bad. That's bad energy.
Somebody wants to know what Santa and Joe Biden have in common.
Well, that won't be any pickle in his pocket, that's for sure.
Oh, my goodness. Joe Biden. And they're actually, if you've noticed in the media, they're actually trying to reestablish Biden and set him up again and try to make him legit again. They're doing their best. I don't think they can do it.
It shows something's wrong with us. I mean, are we doing this for entertainment, or are we doing this for qualifying the leader? I don't know.
And Joe Biden is in Iowa yesterday. Some guy says, "How come you're defending your son?" And Joe Biden says, "Nobody's ever said my son took any money." I'm like, bro, where have you been? The president said your son took money.
Well,
no one's ever said that.
Well, he said he was vice president in '76.
I don't know what's wrong. Yeah, exactly.
I went, well, wait a minute. Now, that was not part of my reality.
I didn't know that he was Nixon's vice president.
Yeah, I mean, we had fun with Agnew. I mean, come on, and people forget.
Agnew. I remember him.
Remember when they admitted him to the psych ward?
I don't remember him when to go to the psych.
Yeah. I mean, I was living out in California at the time, and when we think today, I think, well, folks, y'all got to go back and look back, and the last
Biden
30 years.
That guy to do push-ups.
Yes, he did, and an IQ test as well.
But I think he wanted the guy to go on the bottom of the push-up, and he would go on the top of the push-up. That's just what came into my mind.
Well, it's certainly no ice cream, that's for sure.
Could you imagine Biden and Warren in a push-up contest?
The problem is, I think Warren would probably kick his ass.
She might.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, there's another atypification of what we today are. We are a species. We must have lies. The human race could not exist if we could not lie.
And speaking of push-ups on top of each other, the Buttigieg guy is the one leading the polls now.
Yeah. I don't know where they get these polls. I don't know. They're not talking to me. They're not talking to you.
Never talking to me either.
Probably not talking to anyone in our audience. But yeah, it's like, what's a poll? Who's doing it? And I always loved I took statistics, and so what you get there is the 3 different classifications. Still, I don't see where 1,000 people represent the mainstream thought of everybody else. I think that's voodoo economics.
Yeah, I do too. I just don't know what the Democrats are going to do. I don't think they've got a candidate that's qualified to run. I mean, is Bloomberg any better than the rest of these guys?
I'm going to tell you what's really going to throw the wrench in. Hillary's going to run again.
That would be interesting if she runs.
Oh, wouldn't it? I mean, folks, get the popcorn, get your favorite cold drink, and get that front row, because the craziness.
So we're about a year out from the elections, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Can Hillary last a year? Will the Hillary bot break down again?
Oh, I mean, I'm telling you, Jeffrey, this is magic. There's a spell that has been cast upon this country. Because you know what? None of this makes sense. None of it. We don't have anyone that has integrity, has quality of leadership, that has the integrity. We don't have that anymore. What we do is that we alter and elevate liars to gods, goddesses.
And somebody said Hillary might jump in to save the party.
I don't know.
Hillary is the one that comes to save your party. Your party's in a lot of trouble, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of trouble.
I mean, you can't help but not think that this is not magic of some kind. I mean, there's some hoodoo voodoo going on up there in that whole place.
It's crazy stuff. It's definitely an interesting life that we're living. It's interesting times. What is the old Chinese proverb? May you live in interesting times. We definitely are.
Yeah, but the moral to that story was it was a disaster. I think that's where we're heading. Much like what you're reading in Atwell's book, I really recommend people read these The Two Babylons.
Oh, that's a good. Is that Ralph Ellis?
This one is Alexander Hislop.
Yeah, that's a great one too.
Yeah. This whole papal worship, the whole Christianity, whole Pentecostal, evangelical, you know what? This goes back to where I contend there is a missing piece of history. And they tried to cover it up in Genesis 6. And recently I had a discussion, Jeffrey, with someone who was a minister and was asking me, well, did I realize that by my renouncing Christ and the whole thing that I was doomed to hell? And I said, well, it doesn't exist, but that's fine. I understand. And he came at me and he said, so what makes you so convinced that none of this happened? I said, here's the thing. I said, the Old Testament is actually a recounting of a story by Ezra when he was with King Atraxas, the Medo-Persians. And I said, so there's no book that exists. None. This is simply a memory of a man who wrote this to 5 scribes. So the whole Genesis story we now know was actually taken from the Chaldeans, who now we know really came from the Naga. Interesting in all of that, the Chaldean, the Naga, isn't it odd how they have eliminated as well the reign of the Rephaim, the Nephilim?
That is interesting. And the thing that struck me, again, coming from that Soulless People article is, and I didn't get it from that, I got it from somewhere else, but I was thinking about, they teach us in Christianity, like your Christian minister friend would say, God wants us to be kind, God wants us to be loving, God wants us to be caring, God wants us to be, not to be jealous, to be nice to people, be a good person. You look at the Sermon on the Mount and it tells you, what to do and all that. But let's look at God. Is the God of the Bible, does the God of the Bible live up to those attributes? And the idea came to me, Wayne, was when was hell made? And if you look at it, Genesis 2:2 says that by the 6th day, everything that God made was finished. He was done. So you know what that means? That means before God ever created a human, he had already created hell and had it already ready.
Yeah.
To torture people for eternity in this lake of fire. He already built that before he made any people. Is that kind? Is that loving? And if you're a New Age Christian, what type of intention was God projecting by making a hell before he ever made a human?
I contend to any Christian out there, you explain to me Exodus, I think it's 6:10. I may not be exactly right on the chapter, but it said that God sought to kill Moses. Now,
and
he
if he's
also,
God, why does he have to seek to kill him? Why doesn't he just go, bloop, you're dead?
But wait a minute. If you and I sought to kill him, that's a sin. That send you to hell.
But Wayne, you don't understand. He's God, and he doesn't have to play by the rules.
Yeah, you see, and there makes it where he is not God.
Exactly.
The minute that
he may be a God, but he's certainly not a good God.
Yeah, I contend he is God. I contend that what Christians worship today is exactly Baal's brother. I mean, I'm just going to lay it out there. And I've got proof.
Very interesting.
Overwhelming proof. Baal still lives today.
Divine Empress says that the God of the Bible is a psychopath, and it'd be really hard to argue with her on that point.
I'm not touching that, man. I mean, she's right. We got into this whole thing about the giant sacrificing us to Baal and how humans were nothing more than what they called smaller self. That's an odd term. And today...
Mini-me.
Oh, Jeffrey, I'll borrow that, sir. Okay. I like that. So this ties in with Julie on the soulless ones. So if you believe in reincarnation, then these Rephaim, these Nephilim, what are they reincarnating into?
That's an interesting question.
And who are the dark ones? Tomorrow I'm going to be doing a thing on my live show on my time at noon, Mountain Time, on the dark ones. And it goes with what Julie was saying, the soulless ones. I contend that there are more people being born that have no souls. And I'll back this up to ancient Judaism in the Kabbalah. In the Hall of the Gauls, is the limited number of souls. And when the last soul is born, the soulless ones come in.
Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff.
You mean we hear the reports of the dark-eyed children?
Yeah, the black-eyed kids. They
Yeah.
kind of went. They were big for a while, like 4 or 5 years ago, and they've kind of gone by the wayside.
You see, I bet you there'll be an reemergence of them because as now I'm studying this, I know where those black eyes come from.
I actually interviewed a lady that purportedly was one of the only people that ever let the black-eyed children in and lived to tell about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Great. Tell me. I like to.
She let them in, and she thought it was really weird and made them go right back out, but she actually did let them in. And it's interesting, just like, you know, just like what we talked about the other day, and I'll show it. Dracula, right? He Dracula, you have to give him permission to come in, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And Jesus stands at the door and knocks, right?
I get this. Okay. Yeah.
So do the black-eyed children.
Yeah.
They've got to ask permission to come in. So all of these evil entities, it seems, must have permission to come in. And Jesus is just another one of them.
Yeah. You and I talk about this, and it has to be repeated. This whole process of asking something to come into your heart. I mean, that's possession, isn't it?
Not if it's in church, Wayne.
That's my point. Yeah, except for and you're going.
It's holy.
Yeah. So if I step outside the door, then it's possession.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. I just want to make sure what the rules are because it's a slippery slope here. But isn't that technical? And then to be baptized into a spirit, holy or whatever it may be.
Wow, that's even more so, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I keep on thinking about this circumcision thing, and I'm going, I really hope that there's an out clause in this. You know what I'm saying? Because
is there an out clause?
Well, as this pastor told me, he said, well, he said, you are exactly what Peter spoke about in 2 Peter. What is it, 2 Peter 3? For those who profane the blood and the cross, it'd be better that they never had been born.
Oh, really? This guy was having this conversation with you, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I said, what's your purpose here? Are you going to try to guilt me back into this thing? I said, that's the problem with the matrix that you're in. It's all about guilt. I said, it's all about, you're under the delusion that you have free choice. You don't have any choice at all on this by your standards, because either I accept or if I reject, it's the penalty. Well, that's not a choice.
It's not a choice.
What'd you call that? Would you call that a bribe? I don't know.
Well, that's like having a gun pointed at you. I mean,
yeah. It's like, well, all right. So if I go with you, you're not going to pull the trigger, but you're going to keep the gun to my head. I see.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, the things that we actually believe. And people think I make stuff like this to like make people mad, but no, it's really, in an attempt to make people think. I mean, look at it. Jesus or Dracula. They both died and rose from the dead. They both hate crosses. Apparently, they like the same hairstyles.
Yeah.
Dracula needs permission to come in. Jesus stands at the door and knock. They both require you to drink their blood. A lot of people forget that about Dracula. To become a vampire, you got to drink Dracula's blood too. You
are right.
And they both want you to die, and they both promise resurrection. But Jesus says that it's, in the sweet by and by someday in the sky after you die, and he brings you back in the same broke down body. Dracula will resurrect you today in eternal hotness. 6-pack, nice boobs, whatever you want, you'll have it. Plus, with Dracula, you can fly, shapeshift, disappear, and chicks dig you. And historically, there's more evidence that Dracula might actually be real than Jesus.
If you got the resume and you're looking at the offer, you're going, okay, yeah.
I mean, if you want to give your soul to somebody, you got options. That's all I'm saying.
In fact, I saw this on a sign on a church. It says, Jesus is coming. Are you ready? And I just started laughing and I said, when?
You know what? When Mary first heard that, I bet she was wishing he would have pulled out. Could have saved us all a lot of trouble.
Yeah. See,
And
that
you
goes.
got this person named the Father. You want to ask the Father to come in? I recommend people never let, you don't know his name, just the Father. Never let anyone whose name you don't know come into you. That's a rule of life.
Yeah, I would go with that. Yeah.
That's a rule of life.
Yeah. Come all ye faithful,
Oh, come all ye faithful.
huh?
Joyful and triumphant.
Joyful and triumphant, no less.
Is there another way to do that act, though, than joyfully?
I don't know. So what is it now? I guess.
Wait, what's the segue really fast?
What's that? Well, it's getting sticky, that's all I got to say. It really is.
Joyful and triumphant.
No.
Yeah, anyway, interesting.
Um, mm, mm. So do you see where Osteen and Kanye are hitting the what is it? I think they're going up to Shea Stadium again.
Hey, it's all about the money.
And that brings up a good point, because I found out that Ball had a treasure.
Really?
Yes.
Did Ball? I just don't understand it. Almighty God, all powerful God, but he's always broke. It just doesn't make sense. How come somebody doesn't say, "Wait a second," like Captain Kirk there in front of the God? Excuse me, I have a question. Why is God always broke? I mean, come on. Why is he always broke? He's got the cattle on 1,000 hills. He owns the hills too.
Gold.
But he's bad with money.
You just brought a thought to me. I could have said this to Paula White when I was talking with her. Imagine if it was reversed. Imagine if you went to church and you got money.
Ooh, check that out.
I'll tell you what, you would have it overflowing. I mean, wouldn't that be a God of prosperity?
It would.
I'm just saying, and gold. I'm not talking the paper money. That's worthless crap. I want the gold. I want the diamonds. This thing that he says that his whole throne room is made of, and the floor.
Yeah. Didn't they have something not too long ago in Pentecostal circles where people were getting like gold dust on their Bibles and stuff?
Oh, really?
Actual literal gold dust.
Oh, I have to see. If you can find, now that's something I'd go see.
Gold dust.
I'm going to go with my scale.
Yeah, that's what it was. I heard that they were getting some gold dust. Let's see, gold dust falling in churches.
When was this phenomenon?
Let's see what it says. Manifestations of God's glory as gold dust. So this was from Praying Medic, Charlotte, North Carolina, taping a show. So yeah, apparently these guys are saying that gold dust is falling in their churches.
Wow.
God's glory will appear on you. Gold dust miracles.
Is this
charismatic gold dust miracles?
Is this Metatronic gold?
What's Metatronic gold?
Isn't that the gold of the gods?
I don't know, dude, but there's even pictures of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's show us. I mean, I got to see this. I mean,
let's see. Find one here that's supposedly
I think of Stevie Nicks, Gold Dust Woman, but wow. Now why isn't it then overflowing? I mean, why isn't everyone coming in with a book and saying, here?
Let's see. Yeah, and I wonder if anybody's ever cashed any of this gold.
Yeah, I want to find out. I want to do like Pete Townsend. Rain on me. Come on.
Okay, so these are small pictures, but see, supposedly gold dust in church.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. They're fools by doing that. I mean, collect it. Go and get it analyzed. And that is
only going to show that one picture, but there you can see the smaller pictures. This lady's got someone in her Bible. This guy's got someone in his palm. Oh, here we go. He's got someone in his palm. It's a miracle, Wayne, although it looks suspiciously like glitter.
Yeah.
And you know what they say? All that glitters.
So the Bible, let's see on the Holy Book. Let's see what they got going there.
It's supposedly a thing.
I read an article about if you believe in miracles, doesn't that mean that God's running a lottery?
Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah, that was perfect timing. I love that.
That is a big chewy bone being dropped on a hardwood floor from the height of a dog muzzle.
What's the puppy's name again?
She's like a year old, but it's a German Shepherd named Barkley.
Barkley. That's a great name.
And she loves to run around on the hardwood floor and throw the bone up in the air and listen to it smash on the ground.
That's
Especially at night until
at night. Well, that's the wrong time. So gold being, that's quite fascinating. I have to say it. And again, if that phenomenon was to happen, you would have, here's the thing, and I'm just going to be candid. We're talking about this. So the hypocrisy of where I left my faith was that, well, we really feel bad for the poor. We want to feed them. But I tell you, having been in the administration of some of these churches, the gossip, the judgmentalness of, well, this family comes in every week, can't
or
they?
How much of the money ever gets actually spent on food?
Well, in our case, we had a lot of people that would donate food. And the thing about it is the food that they donated was the off brands.
Well, Wayne, there's charity and then there's charity.
There's charity. And my point is, if a God is all powerful, all knowing, and if he is, 2 Corinthians 13:4-8, that's why I have it up there, because I left because that God doesn't exist in the Bible. If it does, then the whole judgment, hell, and everything else would be obliterated. Paul, that son of a bitch, he put that in there, I think, to mock us.
Interesting stuff.
Well, it's just my personal opinion, but back to this whole point, why is there poverty? And people say, well, there's sin. Well, as the former Father Martin, who wrote the Lost Book of King of Og, as he pointed out, he said, how could there be a Lucifer? If Lucifer was the crowning creation of God, and he stood, this being stood before the presence of God, at what point did this being have time to think of darkness? And how could darkness, of the thought of an all-knowing, all-present, overwhelming, cannot stand sin, tolerate the thought of darkness?
And again, if you believe that God created everything and that you believe the Bible by Genesis 2:2, everything was created, then that means that the devil was created by Genesis 2:2. Oh, but Jeff, he created and was a perfect angel and he fell. Oh, so let me get this straight. Your all-knowing, perfectly wise God created a being that he knew was going to turn into a bad being and did it anyway.
You see, that's the point.
Worse.
Yeah, what is the worst?
Yeah.
And I still contend there's also the dilemma they have. So the Genesis 1:26 people, which God created both male and female, and he did not create them out of the dust of the earth. Just said he created them.
That's right. That's in the Genesis 1:26.
Yeah. And furthermore, here's the key. He never breathed into them.
Didn't have to. They were born as spirits, spiritual beings.
So what happened to them?
They're still here.
That's what I contend. I mean, I don't know who the Genesis 2:7 and 9 is. I contend that's a golem that has an artificial, that has a soul put into it that animates the body.
There's probably more of them than there are of us, Wayne.
Thank you, sir. I really do believe that,
Or it's at least half and half.
Yeah. I mean, we keep talking about the soulless ones. I mean,
all you got to do is go to Walmart. Just go to Walmart and sit on the bench in the back and watch. And you tell me how many people are souled humans and how many people are barefoot and no souls. Oh. And I mean, the ones that go to Walmart barefooted don't have a soul, but it's really something, man.
And then I've been thinking, so let's say if you had a soul and you let something in, been thinking about these stories I hear, particularly from law enforcement, on the people that they encounter with that are addicted to meth, particularly. That drug really seems to bring the dark ones.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude.
Meth is the Breaking Bad drug, right?
Yeah.
Is it usually smoked or snorted, or what is it?
I don't know. I think it's a combination of all.
Wow.
But they say that it's more devious. It will literally take the person's soul.
Wow.
And I often wonder if the dark ones existed with the giants. And I know, it never occurred to me about these dark ones. They were here before we were, which means that we're ill prepared for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Somebody says Blazing River says that their ex was a soulless one.
Very interesting. Well, Julie.
Why did you marry him?
Was it? Let me ask, Blazing River. Was it that way when you married him? Because it was interesting in Julie's story. She didn't see it at first, if I recall right. If I read that correctly.
If two meth heads start a relationship, are they speed dating or just messing around?
I don't know. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I guess there's new drugs I never heard of. Somebody said Flacca's the worst drug, and then somebody says no, alligator's worse than Flacca. I never even knew that there was alligator or Flacca.
The only alligator I ever known was the one that's in the swamp. But Flacca. Now, what is Flacca? I'm going to have to look into that.
Some new drug, Wayne.
Wow. Well, it doesn't surprise me with these labs now. I mean, just think if they start introducing genetic material that can begin to get a person in an altered state of consciousness, as you pointed out, the move-ins could happen really quickly. Because apparently there's not enough physical bodies. There's apparently trillions upon trillions upon trillions of what we would call souls, energies, life forms that are competing to influence us or to even become a part of us or possess us.
I guess it's called crocodile, not alligator. But.
Crocodile. Okay, I don't. Is that kind of a meth? Is that an
don't know what it
amphetamine?
Is. That's the first time I've ever heard of it. Interesting.
Let's see. Oh shit! There are videos of people getting
K2.
So what does Flacca do? Is it an hallucinogenic? It's interesting.
Wow, and then people just take it.
So think about this. It could begin to explain a lot of what happens to people. I mean, I have the one cop that, when he wrote, he said, they meet these people. He said there's no soul in them.
I wonder if you shoot them, if they'll still go down.
Did you hear about the one guy who said his wife went absolutely insane and started attacking him? And so he shot her in self-defense. Apparently, even after 6 or 7 shots, he said it didn't faze her.
Wow.
And I have seen videos of cops having to tase individuals that are under these influences of these drugs, and the taser had 50,000 volts, has no effect on them.
There's got to be something going on in there.
See, I'm there sure has to be
physiological explanation, but it's easier to explain the moon landing than explain that.
Yeah, I saw one video. This little gal couldn't have weighed more than 90 pounds, but 6 grown officers couldn't hold her.
That's crazy.
And then the problem they had is that when they tried to put handcuffs on her, her wrists were so small that she just simply, like, really?
And they just fell off of her.
They literally fell off. And, it's like, but 6 cops couldn't keep her down.
Wow.
So, I mean, that the muscle, there's not enough of that. Bone has a tendency to break, but I contend there's something physical taking place.
And what happens if you get cops that are soulless, soldiers that are soulless? We're like, the American military would never fire on the American people. Well, if they were soulless, they would. Timothy Kunzman says that he met Barack Hussein Obama before he was president and said he had blank eyes, like there was no soul.
It's interesting you say that, Timothy. I lived in Denver when they, what would the orientation, not the orientation, when you bring in a new king, what do you do?
Inauguration, that's president. It would be an
orientation.
coronation.
Coronation. Thank you. I watched the coronation, and if you go back,
And it
Jeffrey,
was in Denver?
yeah, it's when the Democratic Convention here is when they nominated Barack Obama,
Oh, okay.
2008. And if you go back and look at that stage that they had right out here at Mile High Stadium, that was Mount Olympus.
Well, everybody had to be a mile high to vote for him.
And we watched this, and there was the interesting thing. I swear, and I tell you folks, there was a spell that was cast over people. It was the most weirdest thing to see these people just becoming almost mesmerized by this individual. And I agree. I don't think he was one of us.
So you think he was soulless?
I think he also had some very, very powerful magic.
Barack did?
Yeah.
He didn't seem like he was that powerful to me. Maybe, I don't know.
The man won a Nobel Prize.
He did. That's right, for peace, right?
Yes,
Nobel
he
Peace
did.
Prize.
Yeah. I mean, in many ways, you could say that, you could have correlated a lot of what this cat did to what was supposedly the forerunner of the Antichrist.
So why in this world today, the way the world is, why didn't Barack just come out and say, yes, Michelle is a man and we're married, let's get past it? Why didn't they just come out straight with it? Why did they hide it?
I don't know. I think that goes back to the mindset that people can only take things in small doses,
Is that a comment about Michelle or?
Inadvertently, I didn't even know that. There's a slip of the tongue.
Because I mean, if they'd have come out and said it, would people? But you know what? Let's be honest. Since we're talking about this Buttigieg guy, right?
Is that how you pronounce his name? Buttigieg?
Something like that. I just think it's funny that he's gay and the word "butt" is in his name. But anyway,
no, it's a butt.
He's mayor of what is it? South Bend, Indiana, or somewhere?
I think so. Yes.
But anyway, they say he could be the candidate, but the problem is that black people won't vote for him. Black people have a hard time voting for gay guys. So I'm just wondering, would black people have voted for Obama if they knew that he was gay and if they knew that Michelle was transgendered? Would they have still voted for him?
Good question. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know either. That's a good question. But why?
I mean, the whole rumor was that he was a Muslim, pretending to be a Christian. Because blacks.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of evidence for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other thing I always thought was weird is that he never wore his wedding ring.
Trump doesn't wear a wedding ring either. That's interesting. President Trump.
Yeah. What is with that?
Because it's.
Are you married to something while you're in that office?
Dude, I was married to a person for 16 years. And her name was Stephanie. And in 16 years, I never once called her Steven. He called Michelle Michael twice that we know of within 4 years publicly.
You know what convinced me on that was when I saw the Ellen tape.
Oh, yeah, that's really disturbing.
I mean, folks, that's probably one of Ellen DeGeneres' biggest.
No, I wouldn't have, Emperor Rex. So there you go, Smarty.
If he had what? I didn't read that.
Something about would you have voted for Bush if you knew he was going to sacrifice those people at 9/11? I don't really get the analogy between being homosexual and killing 4,000 people, but anyway.
I don't know. They had giants that were gay.
Really?
And they pirouetted right into battle.
Big gay giants.
They really did. Yeah.
I am going to do that. Robert USN Vet says we have to have Joan Rivers on the Dead Comic Society, and we're definitely going to. She's the next one. If she'll come on.
And if you get a chance, and see if Don Rickles is around. Seriously.
I don't even know what I would ask Don Rickles.
Oh.
I have to look back at him. He was something.
Well, he hung around with the monsters.
He was the hockey puck guy, right?
Yeah. Don Rickles. You
The
couldn't go to his
insult on it,
show
yeah.
where if you had a problem with racist,
Oh,
comments, you didn't go see Don Rickles. But the thing is that he
so
hung
why did
around.
they let us see Michelle's junk swanging
I
on
don't
Ellen?
know. I don't know. Because all I know is that person who claimed to be the first lady had a dick bigger than mine. And, that's all the hell I'm going to say about that.
There's a great meme out there. There's a picture of Michelle on top walking out of somewhere adjusting, and it says hung. And then beneath it's a picture of Epstein. It says not hung.
Yes. Of course, we know Epstein, yeah.
I think
You
it's
know what I
great.
heard recently? Who
Truth
was it?
Seeker says this. Do you agree with this statement? Most gays are fighters / warriors.
Well, I guess in a certain way, you have to be pretty tough to, in a society that, listen, prior to this, and it's even still there. I mean, when I was growing up, gay was to be happy.
Yeah.
You um, we use different terms, but there was always been a bias.
Yeah.
Wasn't the tribe of Benjamin
They
homo?
say they were. Yeah. That's why
Yeah,
they got supposedly blotted out.
yeah. They
But
tried to
Paul
bring
was of the
women
tribe
in.
of Benjamin. So,
I mean, but then it gives this whole idea that, if homosexuality is a natural tendency, that breeds extinction.
it does.
Oh, wasn't that a term? And where, yeah, it breeds extinction. Yeah. Um, I don't
And,
know.
poor Joan Rivers. She was just trying to, she's walking in after doing a wedding. They said, "Joan, you just did a wedding." Oh yeah, and the guy says, "Do you think we'll ever have a gay president?" And Joan was trying to be nice. She says, "Forget about it. We already got one. It's no big deal." And I'm like, "What do you mean, Joan? Obama, he's gay.
Yeah,
Michelle is transgender. We all know it. It's no big deal. Get over it." And
she
she
knew.
didn't live another month.
Well, yeah.
Went in to get a polyp removed from her throat, and she's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Joan. They killed her.
They didn't like what she was saying, apparently.
And she wasn't
And
even being mean about it, though.
so what if these leaders are truly
Tracy
just?
says Lincoln was transgender. Really?
I heard he was gay.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, it's well known that he had one particular gentleman who lived at the White House, and yeah.
Interesting.
But I knew that decades ago. I mean, it was probably one not the mainstream. You're not going to read in school, but yeah, Abe was gay.
Well, if he was president, let's hope that he was at least a top, right?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Mary, as I understand, his wife was um, preferred the company of women.
Really?
Hmm.
Interesting.
Strong woman. I mean, yeah, go figure.
Wow, there's a lot of interesting stuff we got going on here.
What an hour.
And Eric steps in and says all the presidents are gay.
Well, that's a frightening thing. When I think about Lyndon B. Johnson being gay, I can't handle that crap. I mean, holy cow, that would just blow my mind.
Cynthia makes a good point. She said that Joan Rivers' daughter was very vocal after the death of her mother for a little while. And then she realized, oh, better zip it.
Yeah, because she was going to be joining Mama.
Yeah, she would be joining Mom.
Yeah. Sons of bitches.
Yeah. I don't know if Bill Clinton would have at least have had to have been bisexual.
I think probably Bill was.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a frequent flyer with Epstein.
Yeah. Maybe in more ways than one.
Maybe more ways than one. Look what happened to Andrew. I mean, he got his ass kicked out of the palace.
But I mean, I don't mean to go here, but you got these guys ready to impeach Trump. I'm still not sure they're going to actually do it.
I
But
don't think so.
all of this about Trump because of this supposed phone call that nobody knows about. And Clinton got oral sex from a teenage girl in the White House, in the Oval Office, and they defended him.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, it just stained the whole presidency.
Not to mention, Did you know that
The
if
blue
that poor
dress.
girl hadn't kept that blue dress with his semen stains on him, she'd have been like Joan Rivers. They'd have killed her.
They'd have killed her. Yeah. That was her
They'd have
insurance
killed her.
policy. And she used it.
Heck yeah, she did.
Yeah, yeah.
And good for her. She would
I
have.
think that's why you don't see Bill Clinton out in the public today. He is running scared. I think they're going to find out that it was the Clintons who put the hit on Epstein.
Well, very well could have been. I don't think Epstein's dead, personally.
Yeah. That would be one of the biggest Elvis has left the room, right? The building.
And here comes the Mensa comment of the day. Max says, everybody on YouTube is gay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Tracy Dyer says that Monica Lewinsky was a Mossad agent. Interesting.
I don't know. It's sure an interesting existence. I know
I've never
that.
heard that.
I haven't heard that either, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean,
well, come on, let's face it. And I mean, would she be smart enough to be a Mossad agent? Or
well, apparently you've got every freaking spy in the world that apparently listens in on Trump's calls. I mean, what happened to the days? I thought diplomatic calls were scrambled and, secretive or,
I didn't realize that
security.
everybody listened to the president's calls either.
I mean, I'm going, when did this happen? I mean, if this happened, if this is the way it is, think about the presidents. I mean, Nixon, anyway.
When did they start recording all the president's calls and have everybody listening to it? I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, what were they doing before they had recording devices?
And I mean, think of the security risk of having people listening to the president's phone calls.
I hope this is not the case, but it seems like everybody and their brother heard this call, and I'm still going, how did that happen? And how did this violate anything? Yeah.
And President Trump is not stupid enough to say stuff on a phone call anyway. The thing that I still don't understand and never will is how Adam Schiff can get up and lie to Congress, read a transcript that didn't exist, get caught and say, oh, it was just a parody. And like, oh, okay, it was a parody. He lied to Congress about the president of the United States. He should be in jail.
Well, this is why this is a takeover coup.
It is an attempted
it's a takeover of the United States. When a one party lies, breaks the law to move another party, that's a coup. And we're like some third-rate world country. The United States has dropped below I think the bare limit of what a third world country is, and that's what we have. We have traitors that are leaders and traitors that are in law enforcement, breaking the law, knowing that they're breaking the law, forging documents, making documents up. This is a takeover, ladies and gentlemen, of the United States of America. And if you don't think that this is not going to lead to bloodshed, you best get yourself prepared. I'm going to leave it like this. This is an actual coup. Now we're going to see who the true traitors are. I mean, and it's going to get interesting.
That's why I'm still holding out that they're probably not going to impeach him because that's a trial and Trump would be able to offer evidence. And I don't think they want this evidence out that Trump could offer. They're
going to call Schiff the traitor that he is, and this fabricated evidence that him and Nadler and the rest of the Judiciary Committee has been participating in this coup. You are traitors. Every one of you are. You know that this is false. And so go ahead, bring it on. Because
what about, isn't it, there's and Robert was telling me about this yesterday. I forget which one it is. Article 3 allows the president to make Congress go into recess and go home.
He can, and they'll try to use the 25th Amendment, though. They're already lining it up.
Yeah.
I've told people this, and I have stood firm to it. If it gets down to it, they will invoke the 25th Amendment. The problem becomes who's going to turn on Trump. And I contend Pence may eventually be that Judas.
Well, let's hope not.
I hope not either, but yeah. Well, this has been a long show, and
It is. And
wow, it's just, but I stand by it. It grieves me. I left politics, and what I see taking place now is I weep for this country.
Yeah. I have a hard time understanding why the Democrats are playing it this way. Sure, they're firing up their base, but the Trump base has never been more fired up and more activated than it is now. And I guess they're trying to throw as much stuff at Trump that somebody somewhere is going to say no who voted for him last time, because really this election is probably turning on 5 or 6% of the electorate in 5 or 6 states.
Yeah, I almost there's a thought that says to me that this is a distraction. The thing that you don't hear about, the Federal Reserve pumped in another $100 billion into the banking system. This Congress, the Democratic Congress, the Democratic majority is running a deficit beyond anything I've ever seen, and then for them to be doing this, it almost makes me think the Trump administration is complicit in this. But this year, this Congress is already spent over $1.3 trillion. I like to know what business of the people is there being done.
That's a good point, because they're not doing anything.
They're not doing anything.
Nothing is being done except for the impeachment. So that's probably a really good. We should look at where money's going and where's it going during the last 3 years.
I have a lobbyist friend
who's getting it, and like this. Okay, when the Obamas when they got to Washington, they didn't have a lot of savings. They didn't have any money.
No, they did not.
Less than $1 million in assets. He's president for 8 years. What's the salary's a couple $100,000 or something like that?
400,000.
After 8 years as the president, they just bought a $14 million house on Martha's Vineyard. How?
I'd like to know how this got. Michelle was disbarred, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
just like Bill and Hillary.
Yeah, it's like, you're disbarred because of you're unethical. Anyway,
how do you make all that money? And look at Pelosi, worth what, 20, 30 million? How?
Mm-hmm.
How?
Politics has been very, very good for us.
Yeah, and then you got a guy like President Trump. He's worth 10 billion, and we know how.
Yeah, well, and now you're going to get all the spoiled kids in there. Paul, you're right. 21 trillion missing there. In fact, it's a really good question where all this money is going. I don't know, because I can tell you the streets here in the Denver area are for crap. I don't see new infrastructure being built. I don't see roads, highways. I don't see anything going on.
Yep.
I don't know.
Where's the money coming from? And somebody says, ask El Chapo. There's a lot of talk that Pelosi is well financed by El Chapo.
Well, where did his $3 billion go?
It's a good question.
I mean, that money just disappeared.
Up in the back room.
Yeah.
Anyway, Wayne.
Anyway.
It's pancake time.
It is.
How's Lynn doing?
She's doing great. She's doing great. Yeah, I love that woman.
Glad to hear it.
And Cynthia doing good?
Absolutely perfect.
Yay. Well, another day. Well, Jeffrey, this has been fun. This one we did. We covered the gamut on this one. This one will probably not be monetized.
After a while, I stopped trying to monetize because they always said no. But then I think last week's did get monetized.
They did. Yeah. So maybe they won't watch it all the way to the end.
All right, my friend. Nice to see you again.
So tomorrow you have Joseph Atwell on, right?
Joseph Atwell at noon Central Time.
Excellent. I'll tune in to listen to that one.
Yeah, he's always good. We're going to talk about some of the typology that is in between Jesus and Moses and the typology between Jesus and Titus. And typology is really what they based the whole New Testament invention of Jesus on.
Excellent. By the way, Ken Humphreys, I told him about you, and I'll send an email for the two of y'all.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
I only saw about 2 minutes of that show. I need to go back and watch the whole thing. How was it?
It was great. Great. I like his approach. He was never a Christian. You know, he was never growing up in a Christian home. He just started reading this, searching this thing out as, well, historically, there should be evidence.
Good for him. Good for him. But I've got the feeling, Wayne, that the reason why the Democrats are so crazy right now is because they know that they can't stop, and I hate to say this even, they can't stop Trump from being elected. He's going to be elected. They're not going to be able to impeach him. And that only leaves them one option. So we need to pray. We need to send good energy for the protection of the president of the United States.
Isn't it odd that I think there was 400, maybe more supposed witches that got together and were casting a spell against Donald Trump? I'm a witch, and I would love to get one of those bitches in a room and have a little discussion. It's like, folks, you do realize that if you send a spell like that and to the recipient, that those can be rebuffed. Yeah.
I think Nancy Pelosi starting her press conferences playing with her bracelet made of orange bullets. It's a subtle inference, ladies and gentlemen.
Be prepared. This is a coup.
Yeah,
that's all I got to say. We're living in a time where the United States is actually living out this is a political coup.
Have we ever had a president that had his own private security?
No. Trump does.
Doesn't
trust the Secret Service.
He damn sure does.
He's got a taster too.
Yeah, and the guy got sick the other day.
Yeah, he did.
And then interestingly enough, after that, Trump makes an unscheduled trip to the hospital. So there's probably already been an attempt to poison Donald Trump.
Oh, I think there have been a number of attempts on the president's life. We just don't know about it.
I'm just thinking they could have tried to take Obama's life by a poisoned wiener.
Sausage party. All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. He's Wayne Steiger, and we should have left at least 45 seconds ago.
At least.
All right, Wayne. Good to see you.
Thank you, Jeff. All right. Bye-bye.
Adios. Bye-bye.